Spring in the ruins of East Prussia. On the 27th of April, 1945, a Red Army clerk named Josef Danilovich Grachev walked into the burned southern wing of Königsberg Castle to count what remained of the amber room. 9 handwritten pages. 340 kilograms against 6 tons that had vanished. 7 months later, his name gone from the record entirely. This is the buried story of the Amber Room's last known ledger, and the clerk who signed it. Officially, the room burned to ash in the war's final days. Unofficially, Grachev's own numbers never came close to matching a fire that size. The arithmetic in a dead clerk's inventory suggests most of the Amber Room was gone before the fire that supposedly destroyed it. The first thing Grachev wrote, by his daughter's account, was that the ash weighed nowhere near what 6 tons of amber and gilt should weigh. The second thing he wrote was a penciled note about a 4th shipment in October that no file ever explained. The algorithm buries investigations like this one unless people actively tell it otherwise, so if this is the kind of history you want more of, subscribe now, while the ledger is still open. That story starts 3.5 years earlier, when German soldiers spent 36 straight hours stripping 6 tons of amber paneling from the Catherine Palace and loading it onto flatbed rail cars pointed west. And the requisition officer responsible for the shipment was reassigned to the Eastern Front before he ever filed a manifest. Königsberg Castle, in what's now Kaliningrad, had just endured 3 months of Soviet artillery when the Red Army took the city in April of 1945, and trophy brigades, the units tasked with cataloging captured cultural property, moved in behind the infantry almost immediately. The castle had already survived 2 RAF raids the previous August, and its thick medieval walls were still standing when the Soviets arrived. Grachev carried a dented kerosene lantern, a canvas dispatch satchel, and a gridded field notebook, the same paper stock the Army issued for ammunition counts, not museum catalogues. The weights he recorded did not match the crate count. The crate count did not match the room's known panel total. And one line, added later in a different pencil, named a transport that no Soviet ledger ever explained. This is the story of what a 26-year-old clerk claimed to find in the ashes of a Prussian castle, and of the 3/4 of a legendary treasure room that may never have been there to burn. Grachev was born in 1919 outside Smolensk, the son of a railway clerk, and by the time the Army drafted him, he had spent 6 years logging freight manifests for a living. Soldiers in his detachment later described 3 stories that stuck: a court-martial over missing typewriter ribbons, a warehouse fire he refused to explain, and a habit of recounting the same crate 3 or 4 times before he'd sign for it. But here is the turn the official record leaves out. The crates that left Tsarskoye Selo in 1941 don't reappear anywhere on paper for another 1.5 years. They resurface in an April 1943 Königsberg inventory listing 27 numbered containers at 5,970 kilograms combined. 30 kilograms under what Tsarskoye Selo's own 1937 restoration survey had recorded for the finished paneling, a gap nobody flagged for 2 more years. That is not a rounding error. That is 30 kilograms of a museum's own numbers refusing to agree with themselves, sitting in a file cabinet for 2 years, while nobody asked why. The document at the center of tonight's story is not that inventory. It is what Grachev filed 2 years later, in the same castle, after the fire that was supposed to have ended the argument. Trophy Brigade Inventory, Ledger Number 9. 9 pages of gridded field notebook paper, graphite pencil corrected in iron gall ink, dated the 27th of April, 1945. The original notebook was never recovered. What survives is a photocopy, donated to a Kaliningrad museum by Grachev's own daughter decades after his death. That ledger is the reason this episode exists, because its numbers, on their own terms, never once added up. The wing itself was barely a wing anymore. Roof gone, walls scorched black. The Knights' Hall vault next door still smoking in places when the trophy brigade arrived. 12 days after the Red Army secured the burned-out castle, on the 27th of April, 1945, Grachev was sent alone into the collapsed southern wing, and the 9-page ledger he filed that day would not be formally re-examined by the Soviet Ministry of Culture for another 11 years. He started at the door and worked inward, numbering each fragment as he found it, weighing it on a borrowed field scale, writing the figure down before touching the next. Fragment 3 was a corner scroll, blackened but whole. Fragment 8 was little more than a fist-sized lump of fused amber and ash. By fragment 11, he had stopped finding anything larger than a dinner plate. Then he reached fragment 17. A brass corner guard, 3 rivets, a partial stencil reading only K.O. fused to a scrap of gilded wood no bigger than a hand. No German museum catalogue and no Soviet trophy inventory has ever matched those 2 letters to anything else recovered from the room. A clerk with no training in provenance had found the one fragment nobody since has been able to explain. 2 weeks later, Professor Alexander Brusov's survey team photographed the Knights' Hall vault next door and produced what became known as Photographic Plate 7, charred Florentine mosaic fragments, ruler-scaled, numbered in the corner. Brusov's official report, filed that June, concluded the Amber Room had been destroyed between the 9th and 11th of April, before Grachev had even been sent in to count anything. That is not a small discrepancy in paperwork. That is 2 Soviet investigators, weeks apart, describing 2 different amounts of amber in the same burned room. Here is where the story takes its strangest turn. Tucked into the margin of Grachev's 9th page, in a lighter pencil, someone had added 6 words that don't belong to an inventory at all. Grachev's ledger lists 19 crate fragments and 340 kilograms of amber shards pulled from that ash. A number that, measured against the raw material 6 tons of finished paneling would actually require, does not come close to accounting for where the rest of it went. I have read a lot of wartime inventories, and I have never seen one this precise and this wrong at once. 340 kilograms, to the kilogram, of something that should weigh 18 times more. 1941's dismantling took a full army division. 1945's accounting took Grachev alone. 4 days, a lantern, a borrowed scale. The marginal note reads, in Grachev's own pencil, 4th consignment, October. 1941 is the only October that fits the timeline. 1945 is the only year he could have written it. A field clerk cataloging fire debris in spring 1945 had no reason to know a shipping term from 3.5 years earlier, unless he'd seen the paperwork for it in that ash. By the time he finished, Grachev had numbered 19 fragments in total, and signed the bottom of the 9th page with the date, his rank, and nothing else. He filed the ledger. Nobody asked him to explain the note in the margin. Nobody, that spring, was asked to explain very much at all. The one man who might have explained the gap never got the chance. Dr. Alfred Rode, the museum director who guarded the room through the war, died weeks after the Red Army arrived. Officially of dysentery. On a certificate no Soviet investigator ever verified. The trophy brigades in Königsberg that year catalogued crates for Moscow by day, and, by every surviving account, pocketed smaller pieces by night. None of that requires a conspiracy on its own. Just too much paperwork, too few clerks, and one custodian who died before anyone could ask him where the rest had gone. That is the seam this story falls into. Not a vault someone sealed, but a handoff between two collapsing systems that nobody was left to reconcile. That November, a routine personnel order reassigned Grachev to a garrison posting on Sakhalin Island, 9 time zones and 1 continent away from anything to do with amber or castles. He died of typhus in a field hospital in Yuzhno-Sakhalinsk 9 months later, and the ledger he had signed did not resurface for another 58 years, photocopied out of his daughter Taisia Iosifovna Gracheva's papers and handed to a regional museum in Kaliningrad in 2003. That part is not invented for effect. Trophy brigade personnel really were shuffled across the collapsing Soviet military bureaucracy this fast in 1945, and record-keeping on individual clerks was, by every account, exactly this thin. The Soviet Ministry of Culture did eventually look at Ledger No. 9. In 1956, 11 years after it was filed, as part of a broader review nobody had prioritized during the Reconstruction years. A Kaliningrad newspaper opened the case to public tips in 1958. Nothing in the resulting letters mentioned Grachev, or his Fragment 17, or his transport note, by name. In 1993, an independent archival researcher pulled Ledger No. 9's totals against captured German rail records and drafted the 4-consignment comparison diagram. He stopped publishing on it within 2 years when the project's funding quietly ran out. Here is what that comparison actually implies, and it's the reason this file is still open on someone's desk somewhere. The ledger's numbers don't fall short because a fire consumed the rest of the room. They fall short because most of the room had already been moved before the wing ever burned. I am not going to tell you that is proof. What I am going to tell you is that the official record and the available arithmetic do not match, and haven't since 1993. Brusov's June report, Kuchumov's follow-up search in 1946, and every excavation since have all searched the same collapsed wing for a room that the numbers say was never entirely there to find. Those same 340 kilograms, cross-checked against the manifest for the German transport's 4th consignment, match it almost to the kilogram, meaning roughly 3/4 of the amber room had already left Königsberg Castle before the fire that supposedly destroyed it. None of this required anyone to hide anything. It required a collapsing empire handing a burning building to a collapsing army, in the same week the war in Europe was ending, with no one left whose job it was to write down what happened to the crates in between. That is not a small correction to a 70-year search. That is the search having spent 7 decades looking for the wrong quarter of the room. Nobody erased Iosif Grachev. The record just moved on without him, the way records do when the people who kept them stop being asked to. None of it accounts for a brass corner guard with a stencil nobody has ever matched. None of it accounts for a clerk who counted crates for a living and then vanished from the only kind of record he ever trusted. None of it accounts for why the numbers, 70 years on, still refuse to add up. Grachev himself, in the one line of his that survives in his daughter's memory, put it more simply. The ash weighed nowhere near what it should. Perhaps that is still the only honest sentence anyone has written about the Amber Room. If this is the kind of history that stays with you, send it to one person. Just one. The one person you know would actually sit with this ledger and want to argue about the numbers. And if you've ever inherited something from someone you barely got to ask about, a box, a file, a ledger nobody explained, tell me about it below. I read every one, and maybe that's the actual lesson sitting inside this one castle's ashes. The world's most searched for treasures don't usually disappear because someone hid them brilliantly. They disappear in the handoff, the exact moment one collapsing system passes custody to another, and nobody left standing has the job of writing down what happened next. 19 numbered fragments, 340 kilograms, 4 consignments, and only one of them ever accounted for. A case still stubbornly unwilling to resolve into anything as tidy as an answer. Until the columns finally balance, the ledger stays open on Grachev's desk. The record is what survived. It is not what happened.